Welcome to, I've got all my lights in, but now I need to change the degrees. Remember that ETC source 4s come in multiple degrees, ranging from 90 degrees down to 5 degrees. My guess is the majority of your plots will use somewhere between a 50 degree and a 19 degree, although some of you may end up using 14 degrees. I'm going to show you again how to do that. Remember, this is exactly what we've gone over in class. This is just as a reminder. I'm going to point out a couple of little things on my sample file. One is, notice this wall here. Notice I have a light behind the wall. So I'm going to quickly adjust this lighting area here to not be behind the wall. And then I'm going to move my light to suit. Right? That corrects that error. As you can see, I have 5 lights in 2 systems set up for us today. These are all ETC Source 426s. You can see that by clicking on the object, looking in the Object Info palette, and you can see it says 26 right here. I'm going to get out of that now. Right? They're all Source 426. Now, in order to actually use the Change Symbol feature, I need to import all these lights. I can then delete them. So I'm going to go ahead and import the Source 414 with a double click. Again, a double click, and I'm going to say don't show this again. Note that this is telling me that if I double click, it's activating the instrument tool, the lighting instrument tool. This is completely normal. After you've become aware of that, you can just click don't show the dialog box. So I'm going to double click and import. 26 is already in, doesn't need to be imported. 36, 50, and we're not going to use the 70 or 90 in this demo, but it'll go about the same way. Now that you've imported these, they exist in your file and can be deleted. So I've simply hit the Shift key and then clicked on all of my lights. Notice how they're all highlighted right here. And I'm going to hit the Delete key. They're now out of my drafting. Now, remember in class when I told you that you need to look at the total angle and total area, right? So if we know the distance, we can use this wonderful little tool, which I'm going to include a link. It's part of the ETC website called Explore the Source 4. It'll automatically give you, for every 10 feet, it'll give you the correct the correct lens, right? And then it gives you multiple options. So for instance, at 10 feet, we get a 9.5 foot diameter, so the complete width of the lighting beam at 9.5 feet away. If I move to the back of the theater, 98 feet away, to get that same diameter, or even close to it, I need to use a 5 degree. You can see how much larger this light is, right? So all we do is we're simply sliding the light back and forth as close to the distance as we can. I'm going to go back into Vectorworks now. Now, we've seen this. Now, we really would like to pop over into our section. We happen to know that our 2 lighting pipes are in this first alcove and in the second alcove. Remember that the section is drawn sideways for your convenience. So here's the first alcove, and here's the second. So if I simply draw a line from the first alcove, again, this doesn't have to be 100% accurate. If I draw a line from the first alcove to the center of the first area, I get 42 feet. So I'm going to bump that back down to 40 feet. So let's see what our first row of lights is going to be. So I'm at 60, 50, 40. So if I try source 414, I get a 9.2 field diameter. If I go to a 19, I've got a 12.4 field diameter. So again, field diameter is the width of the light. So whichever of those suits your area width, and say that your area width is more than 12 feet, you might jump up to a 26. Although that brings you to an 18-foot field diameter, which is quite wide. I would highly suggest here 19 or 14, right? 19 would give you again 12.4 or 12 foot 4, and a 14 will give you 9.2 or 9 foot 2, right? I highly suggest you not touch zoom or EDLT. I'll show you what that does just so you can know if you accidentally end up in the wrong mode. Notice how the light looks very different, right? Because it's a zoom and we aren't using zooms in this exercise. So I'm going to click on fixed and go back to our normal view. So now I'm going to move out of our section just by holding the spacebar. Notice how the hand comes up, right? I'm flashing it now by flicking the spacebar on and off. Now I can drag that and drag right over to our plot. Now all of these lights happen to be coming from the first beam to the first area. So I'm going to look at what my area width is, although you all probably already know your area widths. So my area width is 9 feet. So that means that I can use a source for 14 degree here. So I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to select all my fixtures. If you have a lot of fixtures to select, you can use a different tool. I'm showing you 2 ways here. So I'm just clicking Shift and then clicking on each light. Now, you probably have a lot of lights, so you may be able to say, select them all in a different way. You may be able to draw a box around your lights. Ooh, but we have an issue, right? Because we're starting to get seats and things. So if we want to do that, we just need to draw a smaller box. Right? Small box. And that didn't quite get it, so it needs to be a little bit larger of a box. Notice how my fixtures are selecting, but nothing else. There's one other way to do this as well. You can go into Spotlight, Replace Instruments, and you could actually say Replace All. Now, we're not actually starting with the 50, we're starting with the 26. But you could simply say Replace All 26 with Source 414. And because they're in the file, they're right there. And notice how they've all changed. The other option is to select your fixtures manually. This is my suggested option, just by using the Shift key and clicking on each fixture. And then I'm going to go to Spotlight, Replace Instruments again, but instead of saying all, I'm going to say Selected. Then you don't have to worry about your starting instrument. All you have to do is simply click on the instrument that you choose. So we're going from the source 426 to the 14 here. So I've double clicked into the 14. These lights are all going to transition to the source 414. This successfully ends this demo. I hope this was helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you in class. Have a wonderful midterm week. Goodbye. Also, as a reminder, this website is available 24/7. It is such a wonderful resource.